So I watched about 40 to 50 minutes of an interview of Tucker Carlson on his podcast, main channel. And I really tried to give the guy a chance. I tried not to listen to sound bites. I tried to listen to his unfiltered opinion about things. And basically, where it ends is he's actually suggesting things to the effect that Israel may have started this war with Iran for the extol purpose of turning the entire Muslim world against Christendom. And it just completely makes absolutely zero sense because Christians and Jews are not mortal enemies. They are not. And all of the historical data about how Jews persecuted Christ and the use of that to justify hatred for the Jews is literally no different than what the Black Lives Matter movement uses to justify hatred against white people in this country for their oppression. So we really need to dispense with anything that's beyond 100 years of history. I'm not going to be talking about any of that. I am literally just going to be looking at maybe the past 100 years, maybe 1905 with Theodore Herzl onward, but I just want to stress a very simple idea, is that can you separate American values, American ideals, from the country of America itself? If you do not have a country of America, do those American ideals exist? Now, you can argue that the state of Israel's ideals are implicitly the Torah and the Talmud. They have a long history in the region of Israel. They've been there for a long time. Whether they have a right to the land or not is really, in a religious sense, not what I'm interested in this video, but pragmatically, can you defend yourself? Israel has proven that. So basically the whole merit of whether you deserve to have a country or not is whether or not you have a strong enough military to defend your borders. So Israel has a right to do that. They have a right to exist. They haven't been violating any international law as far as in a Judeo-Christian context. They only attack people who attack them. And yes, there's long history with the Muslims in that area, but I want people to be honest for a second with this conflict with Israel. Because when you saw October 7th happen, you saw millions of Muslims protesting in the streets of Sydney, of London, of New York, basically gleeful about so many Jewish people being killed. Gas the Jews from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Palestine is just a front for the advancement of Islam within the Western Hemisphere and within Western circles of liberal thought. And there are certain people on the right who are becoming mouthpieces inadvertently for that cause because they are trying to turn Christians against Jews as if Jews are the main enemy. Tucker Carlson was saying that, oh, Jews just want to build the third temple and they're willing to do a false flag on Al-Aqsa Mosque, the Golden Dome, to create, Iranian people, Islam fighting amongst each other. And it's super vague what he's trying to suggest, but he seems to think that Jews trying to construct the third temple in that spot is going to negatively affect Christians somehow. Muslims already hate Christians all over the world to varying degrees. But the radical ones, which, by the way, I can't remember whether it's the Mecca side or the Medinic side of Islam, but the one of the sword is programmed into every single Muslim. Every Muslim basically swears fealty to the sword of Muhammad when they convert. And so is a bigger threat to Christendom the Jews, which in Tucker's own estimate is only 15 million people, and they're non-expansionary. They just want to be left alone, quite literally. And then you have the combined coalition of 500 million Arab Muslims in the region, who all, by the way, want to advance Islam at the end of the day as their core fundamental value, a religion which says, let's just say this, Ayatollah Khamenei said that female prisoners who are virgins must be raped to prevent them from going to heaven. I mean, these are the kinds of people we're dealing with here. So while Tucker is so concerned about starting this war negatively affecting Christians, he's not at all concerned about the fact that There are anti-conversion laws in all of these Islamic countries. Christians are allowed to freely practice by the government of Israel. They might be getting harassed by ultra-Orthodox groups, but that's kind of like how you had a Charlottesville here who were literally white supremacists, and Trump's like, I don't want anything to do with those people. And how people try to portray the Charlottesville riots as being like indicative of United States leaders' mentality about their worldview. And it's like, it's just not true. Okay, it's the same thing about, there are fractions, there are radical factions within each political ideology, and they're all bad to varying degrees and to various ends. Islam, unfortunately, has a built-in kill switch that, even though it initially says you must be generous to the poor, you must do service, you must pray 5 times a day, all these fast, do all these things which seem really good, in it says you must take up the sword against those who don't agree with you, because that was the example that Muhammad sent. Okay, Jesus sent the opposite example. Now, to be fair, the Jews believe their prophet will be a warrior who will lead them to Zion, basically, to bring heaven on earth, and the Messiah will live with them and bring in a golden age for the Jewish people. That's my understanding. But pragmatically, Iran wants to kill us as much as they want to kill Israel, as much as they want to kill the Western world. Now, if they can achieve that without doing war, well, what's the outcome of that? Most of the population becomes Islamic. Most of the population becomes radical. The culture that these migration efforts move to supplant the culture that's existing within that area. Look at Europe. Look at New York, which is 10% Muslim now. Look at how Zoran Mamdani got elected. Look at how Ilhan Omar got elected. Look at how Rashida Tlaib got elected. So not everything in the Muslim sphere of influence requires an immediate killing. That's like 10 steps down the road. What they do is they take power like the Ayatollahs did. The Ayatollahs took it by force. They rallied support through fear and terror and intimidation. Basically, tons of people who maybe wouldn't have been Nazis, so to speak, caved under pressure. If you read a book called Ordinary Men, it talks about a German general who had 200 men under his control. Not general, but captain. He was a commanding officer. 200 men under his control in World War II. Said, you don't have to sack this Polish village. You can choose not to do it. Only 8 men defected out of 200. So if you're the kind of person who thinks you wouldn't be a Nazi in World War II, I hate to break it to you, you probably would be. Because you're weak and you're pathetic, just like all humans are, and will flow of sin. That's not a judgment on you, that's just the reality that we are. And Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, and thank God that He watches over me, that He speaks to me. I do not believe in killing in general. I do not condone war in general. I am not a violent person in general. But I get very angry when people seem to suggest that the main instigators in the world, the real injectors of violence in the world, which is the Islamic community at writ large, is somehow less to blame than the Jewish community. I find that very hard to swallow, and it doesn't speak sense to me. That's all I have to say.